nutrition insecurity. We're now considering anybody below 225% nutrition insecure. And for reference, that's about $72,000 of income for a family of four, or somebody living alone on about $35,000 of income. So anybody below that threshold are what these numbers are representing in nutrition insecurity. So in December, that's about 25% of the people that live in the city, nearly 1 in 3 children, and more than 1 in 4 older adults. And then on the left on this chart, you can see how our nutrition insecurity rate has fared over the last few years in the city. As COVID, federal funding diminished, and inflation soared, more families fell into poverty over the last 2 or 3 years. So in 2025, we actually saw a return to a nutrition insecurity rate we hadn't seen since the middle of the pandemic in 2021. And we're still seeing the sustained high level of nutrition insecurity that I would expect will only increase this coming year. So although we're showing city-specific data, I also wanted to show our countywide maps that show how the numbers compare from month to month. On the left, we have our September maps for 2025, and on December on the right, with darker green regions representing a higher nutrition insecurity rate. You can see that, well, you can't really see, but in the downtown region is really where the nutrition insecurity rate is concentrated in the city, including the downtown zip codes, Logan Heights, and also Heights. This means that this is where the most amount of need is, but these maps don't yet tell us how much of this need is being met by food systems. So these next slides will go into food systems and our meal gap. And so in addition to estimating who needs that food, who needs food, we also collect data from all the major food systems providers monthly to estimate how much of the need is being met. And in our city in December, you can see that CalFresh provided more than 60% of all food systems, followed by school meals, food banks, WIC, and agencies focused on older adults. You can also see the totals here, with CalFresh providing almost 7 million meals, which is about 4 times as much as the food banks, and several, 2 or 3 times more than school meals. So we'd like to emphasize the crucial role that CalFresh plays in our from HR 1 will decrease the most reliable source of consistent meals for families in need, which the food banks are normally left to try to meet that increased need and demand when CalFresh is cut. And since we get all that food assistance data, we can then subtract the assistance from the need, as well as some data that we have on how much people are spending on food with their own income, to get a meal gap number, or the number of missing meals that would have been necessary for everyone to get 3 healthy meals per day in that month. In December in the city, about 80% of the need for food assistance was met, leaving a meal gap of about 3 million meals. And this map here shows the darker regions that have a higher meal gap, with University City, College Grove, and North Park leading the way in December, all having more than 130,000 missing meals each. And this is the zip codes that there's the most amount of need that is not being met, and consequently where we think the most amount of additional assistance should or could go. And as I already mentioned, we believe CalFresh is a very powerful way to provide food assistance to families. Our estimates show that only about 2/3 of all eligible families are enrolled in CalFresh, leaving about 81,000 people in the city unenrolled but still eligible. We also know that every $1 spent on CalFresh results in another $1.79 circulated in the local economy. So that means that we're leaving $27 million monthly on the table in local economic stimulus if everybody was enrolled who was eligible. And not only that, you can see the chart here on the left, that if all people were enrolled in the city that are eligible, the meal gap would essentially be erased. Enrolling eligible families could close the meal gap in the short term as we all work to try to address the more systemic issues facing wages, affordability, and dietary issues, at the same time as alleviating some of the burden on the food banks from the nutrition insecurity. Here are our September and December maps where the CalFresh eligible enrollees are. You can see that just east of downtown is where the most eligible people are in the city, especially College Grove, University, and City Heights. And this makes sense because college students are a majorly under-enrolled population, and this kind of goes well with the other numbers on nutrition insecurity and the meal gap, all of this being concentrated around these areas. And you can see there's really not much change between September and December, but we like to highlight that in case that there is. And here's the December dashboard that we publish quarterly, which basically summarizes everything that I presented today, and does so by electoral districts, including all the different kinds of electoral districts in our county, but also all 9 city council districts, and this one for the city of San Diego, which I believe you all have copies of as well. You can find these on an interactive dashboard on our website, and these update quarterly for the most recent data, so our March data should be done within the next month or by early May. And the last research-related point I wanted to mention is the alarming data we've seen as a result of the HR1 changes that are still yet to take effect. More than 25,000 people in our county have already unenrolled in CalFresh over the last year. And this is before those rules have taken effect. While we don't have data as to specifically why that is, we can only speculate that most of them have dropped the program voluntarily or chose not to renew, likely related to immigration status or fears about the SNAP program with the Trump administration, such as being considered public charge for being enrolled in CalFresh. This is resulting in a nearly 1 million meal increase to the meal gap per month. And starting in April, when the HR1 changes do start taking effect, at least 67,000 people will start losing their access to CalFresh and their access to recertify for it, which will eventually result in a meal gap increase of 2.7 million meals per month, and a huge strain on our local food banks who are already reporting increased demand. Meals monthly to the meal gap, resulting in an annual loss of $366 million to the local economy annually. And in addition to our research, we also provide free monthly trainings. One training focused on CalFresh, called CalFresh 101 training, details eligibility and program information about CalFresh, and gives other detailed information on all things related to CalFresh. We have another one that is focused on all types of other major food assistance programs, and it's called the Hunger Free Navigator Training. People who take this program receive a certificate emailed to them on becoming trained manually in 13 different languages, which gives a quick summary on how to get each kind of food assistance type, and several toolkits and flyers for special populations, including for college students, SSI recipients, and for Sunbucks and CalFresh in schools. That's all we have. Thank you so much for allowing us to share and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for that disheartening information. I was wondering how bad it was going to be, and it sounds terrible. It's already bad. So we will now go ahead and ask for any public comment. Now, do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the public comment period for item 5 is now open. We did receive one speaker slip from an individual in chambers. Blair Beekman, please approach the lectern. You'll have 1 minute to speak.
No, I filled one out.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Seems like not too crowded today. 2 minutes would be more appropriate. Public comment time. This item offered a lot of information, a lot of it grim, but there was little hints that you're trying to talk about the actual programs that are still working and functioning, and for that to be dialogue on what is actually working for the upcoming summer would be nice to hear. I spent my fall in Oakland, and I learned their summer programs coming up. They're doing well. Similar to Oakland in budget concerns and issues, but their summer feeding programs, lunch programs are going fairly well. And it'd be nice to hear that sort of positiveness here if it can be mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Allegedly, Audra, you are our final speaker in chambers before we move to the virtual queue.
Thank you. I'm not sure what happened there. I feel like we need to be creating more independence as opposed to dependence on different programs and things like that. And I feel like having more community gardens, teaching people to be self-sustainable and being able to grow their own food would be beneficial, because anytime you want to purchase something that is healthy, it's going to be more expensive. All the foods that are really bad for us are so cheap that it's like that's people's go-to because they don't have a choice. And I feel like if we were even looking into the food waste, I mean, when I'm done with my food, it's like I'll have something left, and I always try and go get.
This concludes the in-person public testimony. We'll move to the virtual queue. I started the 5-minute timer for the virtual queue to indicate that we have comments for item 5. Andrea Evan, please unmute and begin.
Hi, this is Andrea Evan. I support this program. I do think that no matter what program, no matter how many years in we are, we should do absolutely thorough, incredible amount of due diligence on any contracts we so choose to move forward with. Food security is one that I absolutely believe in. I think that putting funds into feeding productive community members is really important. It's such a great thing to see versus, the harm reduction test drugs for fentanyl, which the CEO was overdosing on the drugs that she was testing, being sent to her with zero efficacy standards whatsoever. And then when her COO blew the whistle, then she winds up in jail because the CEO is friends with Summer Stephan. You catch my drift? We have big problems here, and I like the fact that we're going to feed people in San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Phone number ending in 8700, please press *6 and begin. You'll have 1 minute.
Thank you, Natalie. Joyce Anetta, District 3. First of all, thank you for the presentation. And I'm going to switch gears into sort of a different topic related to it, but did know that you're loved and appreciated, and we realize the challenges that you're facing. Just keep it up. So in the staff report, San Diego Housing Commission is a backbone that unifies 500 partner organizations to create a data-driven, equitable hunger relief system. Thank you, San Diego Housing Commission. Yet I do have a concern. 500 is a big, huge number. How is it going? How is its collaboration going? How in the heck do you make it happen? And how is the data happening? How is the data-driven work they do collected, and how is it used? Is it effective?
Thank you. Thank you. This
You're
does
welcome.
conclude your time. Our next speaker, Catherine Rhodes, please unmute and begin.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. Today at the Rules Committee, Council District 2 candidate Mandy Havlik and I presented 2 ballot proposal measures that will bring in new revenue to the city of San Diego. The new revenue generated by the transit occupancy tax revisions could provide money to the general fund that could provide new funding for this food security program, especially for the 348,000 children and seniors that are nutrition insecure. So I would ask that the city council members that were not there actually look at my A to see the wonderful opportunities we have. We could get, I think we could get, on one of them it's 125 million, and then the other one should be at the tens of millions of dollars that we could get to the general fund so that
Public comment on item 5.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to ask members of the committee if they have any questions or comments for our guests. Seeing more anyone else, otherwise I would like to ask you to go ahead and proceed.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for being here today and for all the work you've done over the decades, honestly, for the Hunger Coalition to continue to shine the spotlight on hunger in San Diego. I also want to thank you not only for your data-driven approach, but for highlighting what is coming with the big ugly bill, as I like to call it. We know that people are going to be kicked off healthcare through the Medicaid program, and they're going to lose their access to nutrition for SNAP benefits. And so one of the things that stuck out to me in your presentation was that people are already disenrolling from SNAP. So you can tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of information yet. We're trying to get some on the reasons for the enrollments, but 25,000 people, that's something that I've never seen in my time working here. And from our understanding, it's not related to any rules technically. So we conclude that it's unenrolled people unenrolling because they're scared of public charge. That's something we've always had conversations about and trying to encourage people to be enrolled in the program, but now with HR 1, it becomes more complicated, but yeah, unfortunately, we don't have much more information than we shared.
Got it, thank you. I mean, it is disturbing, but showing the data is incredibly helpful because this is what's coming. And the other issue I'm particularly worried about is senior poverty in our area. And if people can't get access to good nutritious food, it's going to be an even bigger problem for seniors. And so I'm looking for a job, or they can't get food benefits. At 60 you know who's gonna have to pick up the pieces of all of this? Our nonprofits, our local governments, you know, things that we don't have in our budgets. We pay our tax dollars to the.
Thank you, Councilmember. Questions, if there isn't anyone else on the lights. You mentioned that you are a coalition of about 500 food providing groups.
We're a coalition of 500 organizations that are stakeholders in the hunger relief sector, between food assistance programs to school districts to elected officials' offices. We collaborate with everyone, so we ensure that everyone is aware of the food assistance programs.
Oh, that's wonderful. I really appreciate what you do, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be, especially nowadays when the 25,000 disenrolled just probably out of fear. I'm just wondering, how would you find those who are eligible? You'd mentioned that there's quite a number of people who economically are eligible for the benefits, but they don't enroll. How does one go about finding them?
On a much more individual basis, I think it's very complicated. I mean, our methodology is able to look at based on census information of income, who might be eligible, and we subtract for ineligible populations, like those that might be on the food distribution program in Indian reservations, or who are receiving basic housing allowances on military, so they're ineligible. But some of the things that we've employed to try to find them are things like the summer EBT program, where anybody who's enrolled through school automatically gets summer EBT, and before that we had CalFresh in schools. So we were going to, there's more data on school districts and specific schools who might be eligible, so we would collaborate with different administrators at schools to try to get people enrolled in a specific school, which would then help their funding and also summer EBT and CalFresh as well.
Do you know of any summer feeding programs for the children? I know the Unified School District here in San Diego no longer does the year-round school, and so that could be a real problem in the summer.
Yes, that's a great question. Actually, this is going to be the third year of Sunbucks or Summer EBT. It's a federal program, so basically the families that are participating in CalFresh, they are during the summer. So this is a new program, and we, California opt-in. We needed to opt-in for the program, and we are working on creating awareness. A lot of the families who participate, they are not aware of this program, so when they receive the EBT card at their house, they don't use it. So there's a high, yes, in case that, the part that we're trying to create awareness is if there's someone in the household that is undocumented and don't qualify for this program, they can opt out, so the children can still receive the benefits of the food during the summer.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you said it's $120 a student?
Yes,
For the whole summer?
It's $40 a month for 3 months.
Okay, well, it's a little bit, but it's helpful for sure. Wow, this is going to be a real problem. I think you guys are going to be so inundated. I wish that we could just make big public announcements. Folks, we gotta feed you, you know? So is the only way people who are hungry can find help is to go online, or is there some other method? I feel so bad for people who are afraid to identify themselves.
Well, we work with different partners to do outreach work and try to reach and connect with those people, even if they don't have access to the website. But if someone has any questions, they can contact us, or all of our information is on the website, and then we'll connect them with someone in the community who provides their services and can help them to see if they qualify for CalFresh Week, school meals, senior meals, medical tailor meals, and as a last resource, we will offer food banks and food distribution points.
With you, or people get in touch with you if they're hungry. They do oftentimes are the only ones seeing the people from the street who are hungry.
Yes, we work with some libraries, and we are aware of some libraries that also have the flyer that we hand out. Literature as well, so like in the community, in the community area, so people can get the flyers.
Good, and they're in different languages.
Yes, meals,
more comfortable in a different language that is not English, they can reach out to us and we'll connect them with someone that speaks their language so they can receive the guidance that they need.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for all the wonderful work that you're doing. It's angels' work. And I want to thank you for the presentation and your leadership in bringing together all these different partners in the region. It must be a huge task. The food banks, the schools, the healthcare providers, community organizations, all playing a critical role to address hunger in a meaningful way. And we appreciate your commitment to connecting more than 150,000 individuals and families to food assistance and identifying residents who are eligible for CalFresh and helping them to get on that. I think in California, do you have any idea, has some plans to try to make up for what will be lost?
There's an initiative right now. We don't know exactly when it's gonna be voted, but it's a one-time budget allocation of $14 million to help with the gap that CalFresh is gonna lead in the outreach side of the program.
That's wonderful. I'm glad our state is stepping up at least that much. And 14 million with all the people we have here, it's not a whole lot, but every single thing helps. And I want to thank you so much for your partnership and expertise and your dedication to make sure that San Diego is hunger-free. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to take up our discussion agenda. Natalie, please introduce item 2.
Item 2, authorization to receive $850,000 for the Washington State San Diego Parks Initiative in the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development fiscal year 2024 Economic Development Initiative Community Project Funding. And if you'd like to call in to item 2, please call 1-669-254-5252 when prompted by Barney Hayes 160-429-1678 pound. Sure.
Thank you. Please introduce yourselves. Let us know how long time you'll need for your presentation and begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Campbell, committee members. My name is Tom Tomlinson. I'm the Assistant Director with the Parks and Recreation Department. Besides me is Ryan Barber, Program Manager. We would like 7 minutes, if you don't mind, for this particular staff report.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Please start.
Good afternoon. We're here to present the authorization to receive $850,000 for the Clean and Safe San Diego Parks Initiative. These funds were received via an FY24 Federal Government Budget Act. There are no match requirements for this grant, and there are no operating impacts because all the work that would be done on existing parks. The grant deadline for this is August 31st, 2032. The Clean and Safe San Diego Parks Initiative will provide funding for lighting improvements at park locations throughout the 50th Congressional District. This includes Council Districts 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. The Park and Recreation Department will coordinate with all the impacted council districts to identify specific park locations for these funds. The funds will then be used for one of 5 different lighting improvements, so either the repair of the existing pole, the converting the light fixture to either LED or solar powered, the removal or replacement of the existing pole with solar powered lighting, or repairing the current lighting infrastructure that serves the pole.
So our first task is to identify what is the congressional district and how does it overlay with our council districts. So what you're seeing here is a map that we generated that overlays those 2 circles in that Venn diagram. As you can see, if we're trying to cover the entire city, and it's a very small font map, this is digital. It is in the staff report as an attachment, and you can scale it up and down so you can see more closely. What we've also done, and we can share with the affected council districts, is we've done one of these per council district. So for example, this would be Council District 1, who's not here today, but they can see what parks are in the congressional district and in their council district. I think it's loading.
Do you have the mind bringing up the ones that are here would be District 2 and District 5, I think?
We do, they're going to be very small. We'd like to get you either poster size, or you can look at the digital, so you can look at it as big as you'd like.
Okay, hopefully we can pull them up online later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people are pulling them up online right now.
So we're going to keep going. For some reason, District 2 is not showing. District 3 is essentially downtown. As you can see, Balboa Park is featured quite prominently there, so that would be one thing to consider. And then in District 5, they're mostly community parks versus regional parks, and there are some parks within the congressional district, council member, and some are outside. And then the last one, oh, that's the 6. And then 6 has the smallest portion of the district that's also in the congressional district. So if you look at a CD6 map, you'll see just a sliver that is in the congressional district. To help you guys understand what is eligible or not. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan.
So work using these funds is anticipated to begin in fiscal year 27. The $850,000 grant will be the total project cost. There will be no additional funding for this project. The Parks and Recreation Department will work with Transportation Department and General Services to deliver this work. And the initial phase of this will be an assessment to determine the scope of work for each location. The proposed actions we're bringing forward to you today, the general grants actions appointing the mayor or designee to conduct and sign all grant documents, authorizing the city to accept and appropriate the funds, and establish a special interest-bearing account if needed. With that, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much. We'll now see if there's any public comment.
Thank you, Chair. Public comment period for item 2 is now open. We did receive 2 speakers listed from 2 individuals in chambers. Blair Beekman, I see he is logged into the virtual queue, so allegedly Andra, please approach the lectern. You'll have 1 minute to speak to item 2.
Blair took off, that's interesting. Yes, so obviously safe parks are important, and lighting is extremely important. In fact, rates happen a lot at parks, unfortunately. But the LED lights are very dangerous. I feel like all this technology that we want to bring in, we're not looking at the health effects that causes, like especially with children in schools. They have a lot of behavioral issues because they can't just sit down and be still, and it has a lot to do with the lighting. It's you can transmit data through lighting, and there's radiation and things that come off of it. So I feel like we need to stop the geoengineering and spraying of toxic chemicals that is happening, because it's like nowhere is safe when arsenic, graphene, barium, strontium, mercury, aluminum, human DNA, carbon black, the list goes on of things that are being sprayed. So until we do something about that, we won't have any safe places.
Thank you. This concludes in-person public testimony. We will now 1 minute. Madison, please unmute and begin.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say that for many families, parks are where children should be able to run freely, play sports, and enjoy being outside without parents worrying about what they might encounter on the ground or nearby. Clean parks are not only about landscaping or appearance, they are a core part of neighborhood safety and public health. One concern many parents share is the presence of drug use in or near park spaces. When families encounter discarded vape cartridges, cigarette waste, alcohol containers, or signs of substance use in public recreation areas, it changes whether they feel comfortable returning. Children are naturally curious, and even small items left behind can create real safety risks. Youth need parks that feel secure and welcoming, especially at a time when screen time, anxiety, and isolation are already major challenges for young people. Safe outdoor spaces encourage healthy activity, social connection, and stronger neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Phone number ending in 8700, please press *6 and begin. You'll have 1 minute.
Thank you, Natalie. Joyce, and your presentation and the work that you've done on this, all of you. Love Parks and Rec. Just know how much you are valued and appreciated. So more thank yous. Thank you to HUD. We don't have to match the funds of the grant, so that's always great. Professional representative Scott Peters. He was very instrumental in working with the city and bringing these grant funds available. So it's, you know, parks, like the water, you know, we want to be able to go by the water, and all underserved communities, everybody just counts on that. So we love our parks too and our coast. So thank you everybody for working in.
Thank you. This does conclude your time. Mandy, please unmute and begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Mandy Havlick, and I'm a candidate for San Diego City Council District 2. I'm here in support of authorizing the $850,000 in HUD funding for the Clean and Safe San Diego Parks Initiative. This is exactly the kind of smart investment we need right now. Our parks are the heart of our neighborhoods. They're where families gather, where kids play, and where communities connect, but too many of our parks are falling short of being clean, safe, and accessible. In District 2, we also face a deficit of community park space, especially in areas like Point Loma. And that makes it even more important that the parks we do have are well-maintained, safe, and welcoming for everyone. The funding is not just about maintenance, it's about dignity, public safety, and quality of life. Clean and safe parks support healthier communities, it reduces the strain on city services, and it makes San Diego a place people are proud to call home. I respectfully ask for this support. Thank you so much for the work you do for our city.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Blair Beekman, please unmute and begin.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you for this item. I have to travel to the Bay Area to speak on Bay Area Yawasi items so they can continue the public process. It's a good fight. I hope you can look into it. For this item, thank you. Thank you for the work of Tom Tomlinson. I wrote memos to him, letters to him at November review time of public park system. It's really important we practice accountability. I can't stress that enough, that we have to be clear with each other and not afraid to have those conversations. You say sports utility lighting for things. Is that a dog whistle? Can we learn to move past the dog whistle talk and talk directly to what the item is concerned about, and that's biometric check. We have been working on that since COVID, making that a more clear conversation. While biometric check is a part of our community lives now, it needs to be a more clear, open conversation.
Security, public parks become a place for homeless to hang out, and the more that they and do drug dealing, and more that happens, the less the public feels safe to bring their children. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. The 5-minute timer has concluded. We have one hand remaining in the queue. We will take no additional callers. Francine Maxwell, please unmute and begin.
Good afternoon, Francine Maxwell, Southeastern resident. Thank you so much for the presentation. In full support, keep our parks, our seniors' quality of life. There's nothing like seeing a senior and their dog, their companion, their friends, and the socialization that a lot of our seniors are having with other seniors when they're coming out to dog parks, not only to just continue to walk in their community, but other seniors that have having their keys taken away, they can all get together and come to one of our local parks. And so again, just really happy about this and looking forward to what can happen, especially maybe an upgrade or two in some of our restrooms for our families. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And Chair, that concludes public comment on item 2.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to committee members for any questions or comments, and I will first call on Councilmember Von Wilper.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation and great news about getting grant funding, especially when the city doesn't have to do matching funds, and we certainly need funding. Okay, fantastic. Tom, you and I have been through the trials and tribulations of getting park lighting up for our Little Leagues. So I would be happy to make sure that we do have lighting for Little Leagues in our parks as well. But happy to talk. Accept staff recommendations.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a second from Councilmember. Seeing no one else on the line, absolutely thrilling it when needed. So thank you so much for your presentation. The work involved in this. Now be by Councilmember Von Wilper, Member Campillo.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously 4-0. Thank you.
So that concludes item number 2, and now we please proceed with item number 3.
Item 3 is authorization to accept $4,300,000 in state grant funds for Grove Neighborhood Park CIP. Chair?
Thank you so much. So we have our staff already seated, and they have already identified. Let us know about how many minutes you will need.
Sure, we are still here. My name is Tom Tomlinson. This is Director of Parks and Recreation. With me is Ryan Barber, Program Manager of Parks and Recreation. And we would like 5 minutes for this presentation.
Wonderful. Please proceed.
Thank you. So we're here to present the authorization to accept $4.3 million in state grant funds for Grove Neighborhood Park. This funding was allocated via the state budget, AB 105, the Budget Acts of 21, 23, 24, and 25, and awarded to Grove Neighborhood Park. The California Parks and Recreation Department's Office of Grants and Local Services is managing the grant. Again, there are no match fund requirements for this grant. Any general fund impact wouldn't be occur until FY29 or FY30 when this project is complete, and the grant deadline is March 30th of 2030. So phase 1 project scope for Grove Neighborhood Park includes the creation of a new park with amenities such as children's play area, picnic facilities, water, sewer, electrical, security lighting, walkways, stormwater infrastructure, right-of-way improvements, and remediation of any current on-site safety hazards. If there are additional funds remaining, we would look to put in a comfort station and on-site parking. There will be eventually a phase 2 of this project, which would include the sports field and any remaining amenities that are featured in the GDP, but that is dependent on the identification of future funding. This slide shows the GDP for the park. Bottom right-hand corner is what we're talking about today, and the large portion in the top left-hand would be future phases that's dependent on that future funding. Currently, the project is in design with anticipated completion in the fall of this year. It'll go out to bid and award in the spring of 2027, then start construction in the summer of that year. Right now, the total project cost is $12.1 million. There's $7.84 million in the project, and the shortfall in the project will be eliminated with the use of the grant. The grant will fund construction of phase 1 improvements. So the proposed actions, we split this between what is required by the Office of Grants and Local Services and what the city requires. The Office of Grants and Local Services asks us to do things like prove the filing of the application, that we have sufficient funds to complete the project. We understand the procedural guide. It appoints the mayor or designee to sign and negotiate all grant contracts and paperwork, and that will apply with any applicable state and federal and local laws. Our city requirements are to authorize the acceptance and appropriation of funding, create a special interest-bearing account if needed, and increase the CIP budget in the project to appropriate and spend the $4.3 million. With that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you you so much, Mary. Check for any public comment.
Thank you, Chair. The public comment period for item 3 is now open, and we did receive allegedly object. Please approach the lectern. We also received a speaker slip from Blair Beekman, who is now in the virtual.
Speakers, come on. Yes, this is interesting. $12 million for this park. I feel like that's a lot of money for a park. And like, who are we contracting with as far as like providing a children's play area that would cost so much money? I mean, obviously you guys get into, doing business with people, and you always say that you get overcharged or charged more, but you still capitulate to that and go ahead and pay it. That's why. Because it's a good racket for people to go, I'm going to provide this, but I'm going to provide it for the government, and then I'm going to overcharge them because then I want to pocket the money. I just feel like that is a very large amount of money for, I don't even know how big that space is. But this would be an opportunity too to provide, I feel like children would enjoy going and planting a garden somewhere where they go and enjoy the park. It'd be like an activity, getting them, just active in their community. So I feel like those are things that would be beneficial to spend the money on as well.
Thank you. This concludes in-person public testimony. We will now move to the virtual queue. I've set the 5-minute timer. We have 4 hands raised in the virtual queue. Phone number ending in 8700. Please press *6 and begin.
Thank you, Natalie. Joycing now the CD3. Chair, Dr. Campbell, I noticed when the hunger item came forward, just like me, I felt your sadness in the tone of your voice and your face. Thank you for that. And yet, as the meeting has gone on, I'm very observant, having as a massage therapist. I noticed that you're coming back, and I got a smile from you. And your face is showing different. So parks help, don't they? So thank you so much, everybody. Presentation great. California State Assembly member David Alvarez. Miss you. Thank you so much for what you do for all of us. You do great work. $4,300,000 grant funds, no matching needed. So thank you for this item. Love you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Catherine Rhodes, please unmute and begin.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. And again, I wanted to ask you guys to listen to the Rules Committee and look at our item 3, sub-item A, or the 2 measures regarding the TOT, because that is where you could find some identified funding to actually do the phase 2 of this project. The first thing, when I first looked at it, I saw that they're going to have a dog park and a playing field and basketball courts. And I was like, oh, wow, good for them. It's not just a playground. And then you also need money for a comfort station. If you guys look into this, put it on the ballot, you will actually have money that you can actually direct to give to the neighborhood for this beautiful park that's right near the Interstate 5. And so please just look into it, because there is money available if the voters vote to make some changes to the TOT. Thank you.
This does conclude your time, and our final speaker with their hand raised, Blair Beekman, please begin.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman. This is Otay Mesa Parks. This is what Councilman Moreno has really been working on, I guess. Is this their good stuff? The additional parks are coming through, or is this I know there was an initial Otay Mesa Park coming through. For this item, the Parks Department did an awesome job at the beginning of the Trump administration to put brakes on their technology use and development for their park systems. They wanted to kind of review where Trump was going to be coming from and what's going to be going on with that. I hope that taught really important lessons that we can go slow and still do the same good things. We just need the checks and double checks.
And that means community help, that means community participation. And in this time of war, we don't have to keep things secret. We practice as a community our best practices, and that creates peace. I can't say that enough. Good luck in those efforts. Thank you.
And Chair, this concludes public comment.
Thank you so much. I don't see any of my colleagues on the line at this time. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. What's the state of this park at this time?
Sure, so the park size is about 11 acres, a little more. The city owns the site. We have conducted our general development plan. It is approved. We are in design. There is an active CIP, and we have partial funding. And so this additional funding will allow us to complete a significant amount of work, an actual phase that will result in tangible product for the children in recreation. So we're very excited about it. As Brian mentioned, there are two components that will be subject to when the bids come in, if we can afford the comfort station and the parking lot. But what we will get is right-of-way improvements along that street on 27th. We will get a phase of the park, we'll get a playground, we're going to get another park in Otay Mesa Mesto, which is sorely needed.
Yes, I'm sure. Can you tell us, will you be able to start right away, or do you have to wait till the funding actually comes in, or what's the timeline?
So the good news is we have existing local funds in the CIP. Design is actively underway. The consultant has already been retained, and we are close to finishing that design if we look at our schedule. So it is actively underway, and by the time, well, knock on wood, if City Council does approve this grant and we complete our grant agreement with the state and get it booked into SAP, that should happen seamlessly, and the park should not be back on the bids.
Okay, let's hope so. It's pretty hard to have a park with kids and no restrooms. Let's hope for the best. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to accept Wilford, and therefore we will go ahead and take the vote. And it is absolutely thrilling that this grant has been given by the state. Thank you so much. Everyone vote.
The motion passes 4-0.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, you guys, so much. Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to go ahead with our item number 4. And Natalie, would you please introduce item number 4?
Thank you, Chair. Item number 4, resolution in support of AB 2525 surplus lands, Mission Bay. If you're watching on TV or the election and wish to call in to provide comment on item 4, please call 1-669-254-5252. Webinar.
Wonderful. Hi, Manny. Please introduce yourself and let us know how long it would take to present.
Hi, I'm Manny Reyes, a Senior Policy Advisor for Councilmember Campbell. I will need about 5 minutes.
Please proceed.
An item in support of AB 2525. So background. In 2025, the issue, the Surplus Land Act, and its potential impact to Mission Bay Park came before the City Council as a part of the review process for some expiring long-term commercial leases within the park. While Mission Bay Park has a long history of commercial visitor use, the surplus land requires local governments to offer properties to affordable housing developers through a first right of refusal process whenever a property is deemed surplus, including when a new or renewed long-term lease is issued. While the Surplus Land Act is an important statewide housing purpose, its procedural requirements are not feasible where housing is legally prohibited, such as within Mission Bay Park. As you know, visitor commercial uses in Mission Bay Park operate on long-term ground leases with the city. As some of these leases approached expiration or renegotiation, city staff brought forward a proposal asking the City Council to formally declare some leasehold parcel in Mission Bay Park as surplus land to comply with state law. Staff indicated that this step was intended to ensure the city remained compliant with state requirements when elevating future redevelopment or lease negotiations. The item was ultimately returned back to staff. So what is this state bill? California Bill 2525, Surplus Lands Mission Bay Park, is authored by Assemblymember Chris Ward and sponsored by Mayor Todd Gloria. AB 2525 proposes amendments to the California Surplus Land Act to clarify that land within Mission Bay Park should not be subject to surplus land designation. In other words, the Surplus Land Act would not conflict with the city charter protections because converting lands in Mission Bay Park to private residential use would require amending City Charter Section 55 for legal clarity. This would require a vote of the people, and it would need a 2/3 majority to pass, which is neither feasible nor supported by city leadership or the community. So why is this important? The bill is important to protecting park space because once again it clarifies that land within Mission Bay Park is not subject to the Surplus Land Act. AB 2525 would expedite the modernization of facilities within Mission Bay Park by providing a narrow exemption from the Surplus Land Act for Mission Bay Park. Most importantly, it provides legal clarity that Mission Bay Park will continue to be managed for public recreation, environmental stewardship, tourism, consistent with the Mission Bay Park Master Plan adopted in 1994. AB 2525 ensures new legislation. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Robert Onley,
Board members of the committee, my name is Fred Taken. I'm with the San Diego County Lodging Association.
Good afternoon. I'm a former member of the San Diego Park and Rec Board. I'm a former chair of the Mission Bay Park Committee. In 2008, I teamed up with Donna Fry, Kevin Faulkner, Mike Turk, and Margaret Hedgecock to draft and then pass Measure C, which provided that all new revenues in Mission Bay Park from our visitor-focused leases would stay in the park systems for park maintenance. That was buttressed by Measure J approximately a decade later. I've had an opportunity to speak with all four of my co-authors from Measure C. They're not here today, but they all support this exemption. We all believe that without the exemption, we have a very real possibility that we could end up with housing in Mission Bay Park, and we can't have that. Thank you very much for supporting this.
Thank you. Alexis Audra?
Yeah, I think it's important to keep this as parkland because the way you guys are doing things, you're building so densely everywhere, it's really kind of destroying neighborhoods that people moved into hoping that it would be like a single family home residence area, not something with a bunch of stack and pack ADUs. And so if we did this to Mission Bay, you guys would potentially be setting yourself up for litigation from all of the people who want to preserve that and keep it something that people can go and visit and not see a bunch of, who knows, high rises or different things. I mean, it would be great waterfront property, that's for sure, and people would want to go and build there, but I think that we need to ensure that we keep a lot of parts of San Diego what they were intended to be for, and not just change it so much that people, you know, like want to leave here. So I'm sure you guys will pass it. Who knows? But I just think whatever's beneficial to our communities is best.
And our final speaker in Chambers, Stephanie.
My state talk here today for Mission Bay Lessees Association. Thank you to Council District 2, Mission Bay in your district, but to all of us. It's everyone's Mission Bay. And as your lessees, we appreciate. Look forward to bringing this to Council. Thank you to the Mayor, and of course to Assemblymember Ward. We'll be here to support this all the way to the Governor's desk. This clarity is essential for this very unique place in the world. So we appreciate the staff work. We're happy to help wherever we can, but it is very important that we move this forward. So thank you for your consideration today.
This concludes in-person public testimony. We will now move to the virtual queue. I've started the 5 to indicate that they have public comment on item 4. We have 4 rows. Please unmute and begin.
Wonderful. I do support this new law just in case. Thank you to Assemblymember Chris Ward. However, I do not agree that surplus land expired leases have to be prioritized Diego, but instead are owned in trust by the citizens of the state of California. Surplus lands are to be used first for affordable housing, park and recreation purposes, or open space purposes. Surplus land does not automatically have first priority for affordable housing. Park and recreation purposes and open space purposes are also allowed by law as priorities. Also within the coastal zone that includes Mission Bay Park, you do not have to dispose of surplus land because the land is in the coastal zone and it's already exempt and prioritized specifically for open space. So Government Code Section 54220, the legislator housing for persons of family and low moderate income is a barrier to addressing statewide housing.
Thank you. This does conclude your time. Our next speaker is Mandy. Please open and begin.
Good afternoon, Mandy Havlick, candidate for San Diego City Council District 2. I'm here today in strong support of AB 2525 and the preservation of surplus lands in Mission Bay Park. I'm a big believer in coastal access. These are public lands that belong to all of us, and we need to do everything we can to protect them. Mission Bay is not just a regional asset, it's a critical part of our environmental resilience and our quality of life. In district communities, we already face a deficit of community parks and usable open space. That makes preserving Mission Bay even more important. These are the spaces where families gather, where experience the best of San Diego. Protecting these lands ensure we continue to provide accessible, open, and sustainable spaces for both our residents and the millions who visit our city each year. Please support the adoption of AB 2525 and help us preserve Mission Bay for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, phone number ending in 8700, please press *6 and begin.
Thank you, Joe Giannata, District 3. I've never spoken on this item. It's been around a while, and I never said anything. But I want to say this because when the words "vote of the people" came forward in the presentation, it made me think that we are one people, one family, and one San Diego. Now, I don't mean this lightly, I mean it seriously. When we go into the kitchen and we sit at the table of one family, everybody gets to decide on this decision. We have to get the big picture and collaborate it together. And that can be difficult, but that's what's required. So thank you, everybody. Hang in there. And please consider my suggestion for how to move forward with this. Love to all. Great day.
Thank you. And our final speaker in the queue, Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman. This item has been here for a long time now. I hope our councilpersons are learning graciousness and how to talk about it. If this is for truly affordable housing, it is of interest to myself. Otherwise, this is just going to be serving people with incomes of $80,000 and $90,000. That's not too cool, I don't think. So that's my feelings on this item. I don't think it should be serving our higher income peoples if you're going to go through with it. Housing should be we should really be working on very needed housing for truly affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chair, this concludes public comment on item 4.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mandy, for the presentation. And I'd like to ask my colleagues, council members on our committee, if they have any comments or questions, and we'll start with Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you, Chair Campbell, and thank you to your staff for bringing this forward. This is something that we have been talking about as part of our legislative platform, and it's something that we deliberated quite at length at council to make sure that it was very clear that Mission Bay should continue to remain recreation, and really reflecting on the fact that the Surplus Lands Act, while well-intentioned, because of the words within the act itself, create a bit of a, let me put it this way, they put councils between a rock and a hard place, because if we have land that we would like to develop and because development often requires financing, and financing often requires more than a 15-year commitment to get that financing, we have to put the land out for longer than 15 years for leases. And then that triggers the Surplus Land Act. Surplus Land Act says we have to go and do a good faith negotiation with developers or applicants who would like to take that land and prioritize their housing proposals. So as I pointed out, and I believe Councilmember Whitmer pointed out at that specific hearing, we noted that the act itself is really, really tricky and can lead down roads that we don't necessarily want to go down. But thanks to Assemblymember Ward, AB 2525 would give us the ability to avoid that problem with Mission Bay so that we can live out the Mission Bay Park Master Plan, which had decades of community input, stakeholder input, and is a plan that was adopted by this council. So I really appreciate your staff bringing this forward. I'm in full support. Councilmember Campbell, would you like to make the motion on your own item, and I would second it? Just kidding, I make the motion, no, I'm just joking.
Thank you so much.
But you're making the motion?
I'll be happy if you make the motion.
You're very kind. Well, then I will make the motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Tice.
Thank you so much. We will now go to Councilmember Von Ruppert. They want to second the motion, which would be fine.
Okay, well, I'd love to second the motion. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the great work on this item. Thank you to Assemblymember Ward and to the Mission Bay Park Tenants Association for the incredible work. And so I'm very glad to see this is getting done. We also need to make sure that we have other fixes to other land. I have agricultural preserves in my district, for example, that would not be suited for the surplus land.
I want to thank Vanny for the presentation on his work on this. And Assemblymember Chris Ward, our Mayor Gloria, who also helped sponsor this for the State Assembly. And of course, our Mission Bay lessees. God bless them, and thank you for all your help with this. It's very important that we continue to have Mission Bay Park as a park for everyone, as was suggested by our public speakers, and we so appreciate them weighing in on this as well. So that's why our office has worked so hard on this in favor of a Assembly provides important clarity to protect Mission Bay Park, which largely lies with it is one of the largest. It has long been protected as dedicated parkland. State Thailand's law, our city charter, the Mission Bay Park Master Plan, the voter-approved measures, everything made clear that this land must remain devoted as a park space, and residential development is not allowed. While the Surplus Land Act always plays an important role in addressing our housing needs, its requirements simply do not fit places like Mission Bay Park, where housing is already legally prohibited. AB 2525 provides the clarity that the land within Mission Bay Park should not be subject to the Surplus Land Act, and the Mission Bay Park remains a protected park for future generations. Supporting this bill means respecting the will of San Diego voters who have repeatedly chosen to safeguard the park. And I want to thank you, Councilmember Campillo, for the motion, and Councilmember Von Ruppert for the second. And let's take the vote.
Thank you, Chair. That passes unanimously 4-0.
Wonderful. This brings us to the end of today's agenda. And I want to thank the members of the public for your participation. And I will now adjourn this meeting of the Community and Neighborhood Services Committee to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026 at 2 p.m. Thank you so much. We are adjourned.
Stay. It's always interesting.